All right, welcome back to Studio 40 Live. I found out what we're talking about.
You did?
Well, I mean, he always brings just a plethora of topics.
Yep.
A lot of them are very serious.
Of course.
But helpful.
But helpful.
Car crashes.
Car crashes.
Yeah. Robert Carichoff, how are you?
Good. Unfortunately,
Good.
they happen.
They do.
You know, they do. We
And
need
you
to know
need-
what happens when when they go down.
And who to call.
Right here, Triumph Law.
All right, Robert, let's do this. Before we get into some of that stuff, why don't you remind people a little bit about your firm? And I know you've been around a long time. I see you on billboards. I love seeing you on my way home from work. But tell people a little bit about what your firm does and how
Triumph
it
Law?
started.
Yeah, practices exclusively in the field of personal injury, so like 99% car crash cases, and that's what we do day in and day out. I've been practicing 23 years this December, and so we have offices in Folsom, Sacramento. We're actually expanding further down south, and so we got a couple of offices moving toward opening in Southern California.
Congratulations
also.
to you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great.
Expansion, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into it, and we're going to dive right into it. I mean, right off the bat, there's no way to kind of get around this. Car crashes, they do happen, but unfortunately, if somebody dies in a car crash, is that a little bit different, the legal claim different than somebody who's just injured?
It is a little bit different because you end up having two legal claims. One is the estate of the person who dies. When we die, all of our legal claims, all of our rights and responsibilities move into this legal entity called an estate. So the estate then has a certain kind of claim, and then there's a wrongful death claim that arises as a result of that as well. So that's kind of the long and short of how that's different than if you just get in a crash, you get injured, and it's your own personal claim.
Who can bring those kind of claims forward, I guess?
You need a representative for that claim of the estate of the person. So that's things like if they had burial expenses or suffered property damage losses as a result of the death, those can be taken up on behalf of the estate, and then the heirs, the people who survive, the really important part of the claim from my perspective is brought by family members. So if we have a married person, the spouse would bring it. If it's a parent and we have adult children, they would bring it, and they would bring that separate claim called a wrongful death claim. And that's the claim for what that person or those people are losing in terms of the loss of love and companionship and just having that family member in their life.
Of course. Wow.
Wow. All right, what are you looking to recover? You know, when this happens, if someone dies in a car crash, what are you looking to recover for them?
It kind of works the same way as in a personal injury claim, except we're evaluating the case different. Rather than, hey, how did you get injured? What kind of treatment do you require? How invasive is it? How long does it last? This is more focused primarily on the family members. How tight was that relationship that they had with each other? How much of a hole, when someone dies, it always leaves a giant hole in the family. And some of it is, how big is that hole for everybody? How much is this family going to be forever altered by this loss? And so that's what we're evaluating. Obviously, tighter family unit, that hole is going to be a lot more significant than maybe a family that's a little less tight.
Interesting. I do know, you know, one of the things that always strikes me is the complexity of these types of situations when they happen. It's not just cut and dry that, you know, you get this from this. There's insurance companies, there's medical, legal, all the things that are touching, and you're really kind of the spoke out of all of it. I am curious about the insurance part of it. How do you interact? Is there insurance that often covers these types of tragic situations?
Well, yeah, you do have some additional insurances here in a wrongful death situation that we don't always have available in a personal injury case. So one might be workers' compensation. So if the person's working at the time of the death, you might have some workers' compensation coverage. Even if they're not, sometimes that can come into play. Obviously, you have life insurance that can come into play. Sometimes there are death benefits with credit cards that can come into play as well. So all of those in addition to our typical auto insurance policies, and if we have a commercial entity involved, you know, if FedEx runs you over and kills you, obviously, you know, we're not going to be limited by the fact that they have a certain amount of insurance coverage, because that's a company, an entity that can actually afford to pay the right value for the claim.
Sure.
Is it your goal to take most of these to trial? Is that what you're looking for?
I mean, ideally, it's nice to try to avoid that, because the trial puts a family through a lot of stress.
Okay.
And they have to relive the whole situation again. And it's not something any of them are really looking forward to doing. But oftentimes, because of the magnitude of the loss, these are the kinds of cases that are a lot more likely to go to trial.
Sure. Got it.
Cases.
Well, I know you're working on one now. I hope you're getting enough sleep, eating right.
Right. We haven't seen you in a couple weeks. That's why he must be working hard, right?
Guy is he's always going and always coming here to give us great information. Even when the topic's a little tough, we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
He even has a really good shoe game, as always. He's got the good shoe game.
Robert Carichoff, Triumph Law, there it is there. All the information, expanding, possibly one of the best phone numbers on the planet, 5000000.
That's what is it, 5 million? That's 5 and all zeros, 5 million.
5 mil, baby.
5 mil, baby. There you go.